much.
I'll talk to you later. You can come back.
I used to follow her
I'm
mother
having a
around
meetup
too.
at 2 in the cafeteria. I'm hoping I can get over there to Chick-fil-A Sundays.
After I learned to quilt, by going through this book, Teach Yourself to Quilt, where you start making quilts. And I would make a quilt and learn a technique, like say, learn applique. And then I would say, I wonder how that would look in red and white. And then I make another quilt. I wonder how that would look in red and white. So I just kept doing that and doing it. So a lot of these quilts, like my 3 ladies over here, I've made more than once because they originally were in a different color. And then I wanted to see what they look like in red and white. So what you will see from my exhibit is sort of my progression of learning different techniques. I hope that almost probably, maybe not the men, but mostly everybody's a quilter. And we know that there's so many different techniques of how to do quilts. And I hope that you will see, I like to think of myself as a decent quilter, but I have tried to learn as many techniques as possible and display as many techniques as possible. And I've enjoyed the journey, and we'll talk about some of that. Now, so far, speaking of techniques, this quilt over here has been the star of the show. Everybody loves that quilt. I have posted lots of I have posed for lots of pictures with that quilt, and I am so happy that people like it. But let me tell you, I do not like that quilt. Do you know why I hate that quilt? Because it triggers post-traumatic stress syndrome when I look at it. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe what I went through to get to the end of that quilt. The quilt, first of all, it's my first English paper piece quilt. So the quilters who know English paper piecing. And with English paper piecing, most people do it by hand, and I did, although a lady was just here, and she said she had figured out how to do it on the machine, but I didn't figure that out. So that quilt has almost 3,000 pieces in it, all pieced by hand, and it took me almost 3 years to finish. And I will never, ever do that again. So people always ask me, were you making any other quilts while you were doing that one? Well, yes. I would never just dedicate 3 years of my life to one quilt. So the way I work, I keep easy quilts on my design wall and hard quilts. And when I'm working in other colors, I'll think of something at the beginning of the year that I want it to be a quote-unquote show quilt that I felt comfortable submitting to quilt shows, and I would work slowly on that. In the meantime, I might make something really simple like this big star over here for my instant gratification. So, but aside from different techniques, I like telling, my quilts have little stories in them. Sometimes they're little things about how to live a better life. Sometimes it's about what I'm going through at the time, or lately I've been incorporating a few social justice things in the quilts. But the one right behind you, which is a traditional fan quilt, I love traditional quilts. It is called Delta Menopause. That is the name of the quilt, Delta, because of my sorority, which you've learned about. And menopause, because we all already know about that. Yeah. And so I wanted a fan quilt because I quilted that in a room. I would sit in my rocking chair and I would quilt a while, quilt a while, and fan a while. And actually, I do love that quilt now. I made it in 2004, so it's kind of old, but to me, she's still beautiful because I feel like she got me through. She got me through. So the other thing that I kind of love to do is, well, let me tell you another message story. The quilt over here that you see was very simple quilt, squares and one circle. The name of that quilt, right when there's ladies who walk along, the name of that quilt, very simple, but it is one of my favorites. It is Trying to Fit. And the reason that that message resonates so much with me is because I mentioned I grew up in a very small town. I'm very old. And so when I was growing up, the town was segregated and the schools were segregated. And I did not go to school with white kids until I was in the 7th grade. And when you do that kind of transition from what you're comfortable with into a whole new thing that you're not comfortable with, it's kind of hard to figure out who to be or or how to be or whatever. And over the years I have learned, as I've gone through many situations like that where I might be the only, being a female lawyer at the time I started was kind of like that. You have to be authentically you. Whatever that is, you need to be you, and people need to accept that or not. And so I always keep that message foremost in my mind. And I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time thinking about that quote when I was deciding whether to submit to this quote festival. Because I don't know if y'all come to the festival over the years, but you think of the International Quilt Festival as a place where you're going to go see quilts that are like, wow, new techniques, nobody else knows how to do this but one person, and all that sort of thing. And I love all that, seeing all the, man, you can't even believe it's a quilt. It's so amazing, right? And so I did a lot of soul searching because I do traditional quilts, and I was like, I don't know if my quilts are worthy. Maybe it's not the right place to submit. And then finally I said, well, I think they're worthy. I think there are a lot of other quilters out there like me who might still like traditional quilts, and so I'm going to submit, and here we are. And so I am not trying to be anybody but OV. So I like simple quilts, message quilts, and red and white quilts. And here we are. But I will say, one lady told me yesterday that just really warmed my heart. She said, well, I'm so glad we saw your exhibit because I see some quilts that I could make. So I love that, passing it on to another generation of quilters, because everything starts with one step. Everything starts. So let me tell you another difficult quilt. I do difficult and simple because I see India standing over there, my lovely daughter. And anybody recognize the pattern? You should if you're a long time person. This is India's quilt. She is not allowed to touch this quilt. India is also a member of our sorority. She pledged at the University of Pittsburgh. And of course, I wanted to make a special quilt as an heirloom for her. And it's called Star of Mew because Mew is the name of her chapter. But this is a Judy Niemeyer pattern. And it's called Glacier Star, and it's paper piece. So that's English paper piecing by hand, and this is paper piecing. And I like paper piecing. It's not my favorite, but if you want to get really precise, pointy points like this, paper piecing is the way to go. So that's Star of Mew. The other quilt that I want to just mention to you about being simple but being special. I don't know, you might recognize this block. Who recognizes the block? Okay, what's this block?
That's what got me started. The
Disappearing 9 pack.
Disappearing 9 pack. She blurted it out.
Yeah,
She blurted it out. Yeah.
It's
It is a
beautiful.
disappearing 9 pack.
disappearing. That's what I call it.
Yes. The block is as old as time. It only has one block. It's the same thing over and over and over. And of course, I've done it in other colors, and I said, well, no, they would look at red and white. And so I did a red and white one. But as I was thinking about it, I was also thinking about what was going on in the world, voting and not voting and all that. So I named the quilt Stop Disappearing, Stand Up and Speak Up. And Show Up and Speak Up. And I added those little charms, say vote, because we're going through this period. All of us need to vote. And so that's my little social justice
That's nice.
quilt. That's really a disappearing 9 patch. The second favorite quilt in the exhibit by viewer's choice, second to that one, are my 3 ladies over here. Go ahead. I talk right past it. So people love this quilt. They say it's joyful. It's intended to be joyful. I'm glad that comes through. When I grew up in my little small town, we spent, at the time, it seemed like every minute in church at the First Baptist Church of Crossing, Arkansas. Strong church background. And at that time, the deacons kind of led the service. But now in the modern church, they have something they call the praise team. And it'll be like, this is different from the choir now. They have like 3, no more than 4 people who come out on stage, pulpit, wherever, and sing songs to get the worshipers all riled up and ready for the preacher. And when I've made her in different colors, but when I looked at them, at those 3 ladies, it reminded me of the praise team. And so I named the quilt Praise Team, and just to show that I don't discriminate. In this color, they're Praise Team, praising. And another quilt that I made, they were Jazz Festival backup singers. But either way, they're happy. Those are 3 happy ladies. And I do want to point out, needle turn applique. So everything is done by hand in this quilt, and it's hand quilted. So
Yeah, pretty.
enjoy looking at that quilt. But my personal favorite, I think, favorite, because you know I love them all. But favorite is the elephant.
Oh, that's the
pattern by Violet Craft. And when I saw her pattern, I just knew I had to make that elephant really.
That's okay.
Because it's the symbol.
Sorry.
The elephant is the symbol of our sorority. And so I collect elephants. I wear elephants. They're all over my house. And so of course they're elephants in the exhibit. And so, but she is my favorite because then she look like she just might be coming off that quilt. But elephants are so strong, but yet gentle and very family oriented. And so her name is Seeking Strength. So that's kind of what I do. The third question I know you want to ask me that I haven't allowed you to ask yet is, who are the people in the stars? And did I tell you that? Yeah, okay, I did tell you that. So the stars are my friends. So many of them are here to see their name on the star. It's really a special thing
It's nice.
for me. Yeah.
And then what about the angel ones?
My family.
Your family.
My
Okay.
family, starting with my grandmother Clara, who is a quilter. I have 8 of her quilts, which is amazing. And my mother Evora. I had 2 sisters. They're both deceased. 2 nieces and daughter India. So there's 7 angels.
Thank you. That's gorgeous.
Thank you.
That's a great one.
Take the pieces.
You know what? That is a simple one. Now, if you ask me about the Star Mew one over there, India's quilt over there, now that took a while. If you're going to do that pattern, you got to concentrate. You got to really, really be focused. But this one, the pieces are big. If you really look really close, you know, like this might be just one piece. And so this is not a difficult quilt, and that takes a long time. You can whip this out in 2 weeks.
You can whip that out.
Yeah, you really, you really can. I mean, I love that. But you know, and look at our mane. You see those? The peak. You see how big the pieces are? It's not like those tiny little pointy things in that other quilt I showed you. That's paper peak. So that's easy. So Violet Craft is the one. And I did want to mention my other elephant, who is a social justice quilt. The name of the quilt is Racism, the White Elephant in the Room. And I don't need to say more because we all know what that means. So, but I love her. I don't know why people here love the fact that she had buttons on them. It amazes me the things that people are drawn to. And I've been taking a poll of which quilts people like the best, and it's all over the place. It's all over the place. So I'll take any questions. I know you have a lot to see and do at the festival. Yes, ma'am.
Can you just give your name and how long you've been quilting so I can end this and then we can chat for real?
I'd be happy to. My name is O.V. Brantley, and I've been quilting since 1999.
All right. Thank you.
I'll let you do the math.
Thank you.
I'm always afraid. I've been Rosalind. I can't say inspired. I was being a follower. My best friend Rosalind, we're both lawyers, and we worked together for many years. She had some kind of light bulb moment, and she said, "O.V., O.V." You have to meet Roz to get that. "O.V., we need to learn to quilt." And I said, "Okay," because I'm a good friend. And literally, that's how it started. And we started buying books, and I bought a book called Teach Yourself to Quilt, and worked my way through the book. I still have that quilt. It is so ugly. And you know, you do each chapter at the end of the book, you have a sampler quilt. And I hang it up I keep it hanging in my studio to stay humble and to remind myself that everything wonderful starts with one step. But that's literally how it started. And I will share with you that at the time, you know, since we both were lawyers, and I was the Fulton County attorney, which is the highest ranking legal officer in Atlanta at that time, and I struggled with whether I could be a smart lawyer and a good quilter. You know, I didn't want people to think I was less of a lawyer just because I like making quilts. It sounds kind of stupid now, but that's what I felt in 1999, and I really had to process that. Another reason why I really like trying to fit in, and I finally said, I don't give a damn. I like quilting, and I'm going to do both. And when I win my cases, they'll know I'm a smart lawyer. And so ultimately, I made quilts for every conference room in our suite of offices, and I became known really early on as a quilter. So a lot of people know me more so by my quilts than my lawyer.
Do you make any of your red and white quilts? Do you make them like for a bed? And the reason I ask this is the age-old question: when since you use red fabric and you used it for a bed to be washed, do you pre-wash your fabric, or with the running stuff? Like, you know, it's an age-old.
That's a very good question and a hard question. Well, the first part is easy. I don't make any quilts for a bed.
Okay.
Then
you don't have to.
Arrogant and snobbish like that. Go to Macy's and get you a quilt. My quilt, I only do art quilts, things that I plan for them to
That's
be
what I kind of figured.
Be on the wall. But even with that, you know, I struggle with whether to wash them or not, because I'm not conscientious enough to wash all of my red fabric all the time, and I collect so much red. So mostly I do not wash them. When I feel compelled to wash them, because I love washed quilts, you get that vintage looking, soft look, and I wash all my other quilts. But I do use color capture. I put about 3 of them in there, and hope. Then I pray. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You wash them after it's been put together. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you don't have pink quilts.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I do have one pink one. If you were to look at the back of Delta Menopause, because it's an older one and I was still learning, the label that I put on the back is pink.
How do we contact you on social media?
India has my cards, has my website, ovspeaksquilts.com.
Okay.
And I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Twitter.
Awesome.
I do all the social media.
Awesome.
So,
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
one more question.
Do you work exclusively in red and white?
No, I do not. This is just a special thing that I do to honor my sorority and to make sure that I can get a lot of Delta Sigma Theta sorors. That's what we call our sorority people, for short, to come and see the exhibit, because we love anything red and white. Anything. Okay, India, where's the bag? Wait a minute, we got to give away.